With Luke taking Grogu at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, there's a ton of speculation on what exactly happens from here. Luke at this point is gathering students for his Jedi Academy. This is true in both legends and canon. This is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and his powers have only become stronger since then. The things he's learned, the texts he's read from, the powers he's focused to develop are things we've barely seen in the finale. So what can he show Grogu? Well, besides the typical training a Jedi receives that we saw throughout the prequels here and there with Yoda, the Younglings, and of course, Anakin and Obi-Wan, we will see something more. Grogu was more powerful than we see him to be. He had to hide his abilities to stay safe from the Empire. If he didn't, he would have been found sooner. What powers did he hide? We've seen him use Force Choke, which Luke has done as well. Did Grogu learn this from Anakin, maybe when he stormed the temple during Order 66 to kill Jedi? Did he see him use that and then copied it somehow? Grogu can toss people around, create a Force shield to protect those that he loves, like in Season 1 of Mando against the fire, and he can also use Force Freeze to an extent. We have to remember that he's a baby, but he's a 50-year-old baby. He's seen 50 years of life and received about as much training as Mace Windu in the prequels and Anakin during this time. This leads me to wonder how he was found eventually. Did he have to use his powers for some dire situation that exposed him? Either way, the relationship between the two, him and Luke, will be transformative for both characters. How will Grogu impact Luke? This is a question that I haven't really seen asked at all, rather just vice versa, which is a pretty simple answer. Grogu will be trained by Luke. He'll learn the ways of the Force and he'll develop his powers. If Grogu saw the events of Operation Knightfall on the Jedi Temple during Order 66, then what could he tell Luke about that? Just like he communed with Ahsoka through his thoughts and feelings through the Force, how could he do the same with Luke? The two will spend a considerable amount of time together, and Luke may enter his mind to learn everything that happened to him. While seeing Grogu's path and memories, could he find happiness in seeing Yoda, seeing the other Jedi Masters, until the visions begin to darken, and he sees a hooded figure cutting down Jedi and killing his own kind at the temple. Masters, knights, Padawans, and then the Younglings. Could Luke jump out of the vision in terror and fear, seeing the face of his father and what he truly did? How will this affect Luke? We know from the comics that he did see glimpses of Vader and what he did during Order 66. However, seeing them from a first-person vision while feeling Grogu's memories and thoughts could be something that truly shakes him up. I want to see how Luke reacts to seeing his father fall down the dark path and what it turns him into. I'm sure he's learned a lot from R2's memories and explanation of everything, as in Legends, he did see holograms of his mother and Anakin together. But until now in canon, we haven't seen that on screen. Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple won't be a carbon copy of the same stuff that we've seen before. Luke will use all aspects of the Force to guide him. He won't feel pressured to only use the light side, as at this point, his understanding of the Force is that there is just the Force, and it's not necessarily what powers you use that make you light or dark, but what you use those powers for. It's your choices that determine your allegiance and your heart, not your abilities. Now here's the issue with why the Jedi were so worried about using anything remotely dark side. It's because they felt that once you use those powers and tap into the dark side, it's a slippery slope from there. So basically if you use it, you're going to become addicted and you're going to become a dark side user eventually. Forever will it dominate your destiny. I think Luke's training of students could show a new side of him, a fresh side of things, for the Force as well, and Jedi alike. He could explain that you can use all powers, and to refrain from turning to the dark side is something totally different than what powers you use. It's basically just what you use them for and how you use them. I would say refraining from turning to the dark side while using such powers is actually what makes you stronger, not to necessarily fear it, as they did. The only time Luke used his angry emotions mixed with fear and desperation was against his father in Return of the Jedi on the second Death Star. This was after Vader was taunting him and finally searching Luke's feelings and thoughts and realizing that he has a sister, or in other words, Vader has a daughter, and that once he kills Luke, he will turn Leia, and for Luke this was the no-go zone. He knew that if he died to Vader, there was no turning back his father anymore, so Leia would become a pawn in the Emperor's game, and she would be turned to the dark side, and he just couldn't have that happen. So he was extremely emotional, and this was partly due to him not completing his full Jedi training. At this point, he was a knight, and had he trained longer and been able to master his emotions, possibly like Qui-Gon, later in The Phantom Menace, he would have been able to hide those emotions and control them. But in the end, he did control himself even after tasting the dark side. Or tasting his emotions, we can say. When he struck down his father and took Vader's hand, he refrained from going any further. I think that takes more courage and more control of one's emotions. That's more of a true Jedi than just fearing using certain emotions and powers. I think that makes Luke stronger. When he looked at the hand that he cut off from his father, he saw that he was becoming disillusioned from who he wanted to be. And this is partly why Anakin was actually crying on Mustafar. It's not because of what he had done. It's because he was so different from the little boy that he was once before. The little boy who dreamed of becoming a Jedi and saving the galaxy and saving the slaves and his mother. All of that never happened. And in the end, he couldn't be farther from what he wanted to become. Anyways, it's this control over Luke's thoughts and emotions that put him back on the path that he chose, which was to use the Force for good and not evil like the Emperor. Grogu telling Luke about Order 66 could pose the same emotional spike for Luke, or it could resonate the entire theme of the first 6 films, which is that no matter how far you've fallen from your way, it's never too late to make things right and get back on track. He could be very saddened by the emotions and the memories that he would see through Grogu of what his father did that day, and for all the other years until his death and turning back into Anakin Skywalker. And then he could explain that he eventually in the end did turn back to the light and realized his ways were wrong, telling Luke that he was right, or rather, telling Luke to tell Leia that she was right. There is still good in him. And that being the moral of the story, that no matter what Grogu does in his life, because Luke won't always be there, he could give him the lesson of Anakin Skywalker, telling him that no matter what you do, do your best not to stray from the light, do your best not to be a bad person and do wrong things, bad things to other people. But if you do, just know that it's never too late to make a right change. So this is something that I'm really interested in to see when it comes to The Mandalorian Season 3, or if we get that Luke spin-off, in regards to how Luke is going to deal with all the things that he's going to learn from Grogu and Grogu's time at the temple, because this is his link to the prequels, essentially. This is his link to finding out and learning all these different characters. And, of course, imagine if him, Grogu, and Ahsoka sit down and they all exchange stories together. Just having Ahsoka finally learn that Anakin was redeemed and turned back to the light would bring tears to her eyes, and all of ours for sure. And on Luke's end, hearing all the stories of how heroic and amazing Anakin Skywalker was during the Clone Wars would surely be a beautiful story to hear. Hope you enjoyed this theory video. Let me know what you think we could see from these two characters going forwards, either in a spin-off show or in The Mandalorian Season 3, 4, 5, and so on, however long they want to take on this awesome show. Thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day or night. And until then, remember, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, the Force will be with you, always.